All right, so let's talk about good nurse, bad nurse. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what good nurse and bad nurse, if you are a healthcare provider, if you are a nurse and you don't know what good nurse, bad nurse is, I don't know what you're doing. All right. I think it's fantastic. So why don't you real briefly just tell us what good nurse, bad nurse is, and then tell us how that came to be.
So, well, Good Nurse Bad Nurse is a podcast that I started about a year ago. It's a combination of true crime, like medical true crime, and also nursing in general. So what I do is I have a guest host on, and we will talk about a good nurse and a bad nurse. So usually the bad nurse, and sometimes it's not a nurse at all. It's sometimes a doctor or a physical therapist or a respiratory therapist, or it could be just someone in the medical field in general who's done something not necessarily related to their job. It may be that they did something in their personal life, but they happen to be in the medical field. So, but it's a true crime story, and we tell the whole story of that event that happened. And I enjoy listening to podcasts, the true crime podcasts. So I just wanted to create something that sort of incorporated that element into it, but then also gave me an opportunity to discuss nursing and the medical field in general, and then use it as an opportunity to sort of bring together nurses and other medical professionals and help with, because while I want nurses to have better relationships with each other, I want that's a goal of mine, is to just continue to foster that idea of we're all part of one big family of healthcare workers, but also the relationships within interdisciplinary relationships. So nurses and pharmacists, and nurses and doctors, and nurses and respiratory therapists, and and everybody with each other, because you in healthcare you can kind of have that silo effect where you know what you do, and you think what you do is the most important thing, but you don't know how to consider what is going on in the pharmacy. What is going on in the pharmacy?
Please let me know.
I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness, it could be one of the most frustrating things, but really, we don't know. We don't work there. We're not pharmacists. We're not pharmacy techs. We don't understand it, and I know that. And I still would get so frustrated when I have an 1800 antibiotic that it's not there, and I'm just
exactly.
Why isn't it?
Like,
and I know
do you not understand?
There's got to be a reason it's not there, and that's what I really would like to do, is to just get these conversations going. And that's why I like having different types of medical professionals on Good Nurse, Bad Nurse, so we can talk about that stuff. I want to hear the pharmacist say, I want to hear you say, why in the world you can't have my Miram down here by 1800?
Please, no. I'm so happy you said that, just because, I thought that was a us issue. This is a worldwide issue.
I know.
We got to talk to these pharmacists, because they, I don't know if they like to just push the right buttons, but bring me the meds, please. All I ask is for the meds to be where they need to be.
I have a feeling there's probably some staffing issues.
Of course.
It's the way it is all over the hospital. So I try to be patient with people and not, but boy, it can get frustrating when your EMR turns red because your med is late, and you don't like giving meds. Who wants to give a med late, Exactly. So yeah, that's just that's what Good Nurse, Bad Nurse is. It's just, it's discussion. It's, just talking about stuff.
I think maybe Tina here might be a little too modest. I'm telling you guys, if you like any true crime story, you need to listen. Even if you have this it's crazy, because it is all of these stories, like she said, it's just the person needs to be in healthcare. And if they're in healthcare, check the boxes, check, then we could talk about the crazy, insane stories they have done outside of it. I have been a guest host on Tina's podcast twice, and it is, I'm telling you, I really get into these stories, because the things these people do just blow your mind. It's like, how is this possible? But it's super interesting, and you got to listen to it. The build up in the podcast is fantastic. The side conversations that Tina has with her guests are fantastic. It is just the bee's knees, right? But Tina, I gotta know, how long into, because I feel like this podcast is a little, I would say, medium-aged, long-ish running. How long into your nursing career did you decide to start Good Nurse, Bad Nurse?
It's only been around a year. I started it at the end of May last year. So it's really just we just had our 1 year anniversary. So it's not. I had been a nurse for 3 years when I started doing it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I tell this to nurses everywhere, right? I tell them, if you have a side hustle, if you have a thing that you like to do on the side, like, do it on the side. Nursing is the perfect career to have something to do on the side. At least I'm speaking for myself and like the majority of nurses in my personal life, so it is anecdotal, but I do know a lot of nurses work 12-hour shifts. And a lot of nurses who work 12-hour shifts work 3 days, maybe 4 days a week. And that means you have 3 day weekends. That means you have 4 days off a week. So if there is something that you like to do it, and do it as big as you can. And I love other nurses that do this, right? Tina does a podcast. I do my YouTube show and all, and my Instagram stuff. So I really appreciate when nurses, take their creative stuff, take their other passions outside of nursing, like the actual day to day nursing.